Hey, what's going on, guys? Gavin the Grease here. Alright, so today's topic of chosen by myself. Usually I have people, pick out topics, but I kind of thought of this one on my own. Alright? My fucking hair is not staying wet. Kind of. Alright, so goddamn fucking hair. Always not staying in place. It never wants to stay in place where I put it. It gets very, very annoying. It can never keep it in the place I want it. When I do get to kind of go into the place I kind of want it, it doesn't stay. Which is, kind of a big problem here. Alright, good enough for now. It's gonna have to do. Alright, so tonight's topic is, it's kind of daytime. It's 6 o'clock where I live, so it's technically midday. Tonight's topic, or today's topic, wherever you live, is, do greasers still exist? And if so, where can you find them? So, because I get you get the question a lot, greasers don't exist anymore. It's not the 1950s. Oh, they don't exist anymore. I mean, if they exist, why can't I find them? Well, you can't find them because you're not looking in the right spot. I'm going to tell you why and how and where you can find them in the right spot. See, if you go outside of your house right now, this very second, and you look outside, you're not going to see any greasers. That doesn't mean they don't exist. That just means you can't see them and you don't live by any. All right? So, nowadays, if you have internet, you have all there's other stuff. You can easily go online and, search up greaser stuff, the subculture, the scene, the way they dress. You can easily search all that stuff up because we now have access to that stuff nowadays. So, let's go back in time to 1950s era or late 40s era and see what we were dealing with at that time and what you could actually do to find that stuff. Alright? So, that's what I'm pretty much been covering today. So, we'll take it back to that time. So, back in that era, they didn't have internet, obviously, so they couldn't look anything up. Nowadays, everything's easier. We can just easily look up stuff if we wanted to. Back in that time, they didn't have that stuff. They didn't have internet. They didn't have magazines, to find, about places and other stuff. They didn't have that. Alright? So, what did they do? They pretty much, went around town, walking around town, looking. If they wanted to, be a part of that stuff, they kind of had to find it out for themselves. And by, going around town, finding people who are interested in the same stuff they're interested in, actually talking to people. That's what they had to do in those times because they didn't have internet. They didn't have, cell phones. They didn't have computers. They didn't have that stuff. Nowadays, we have it all, right? Well, back in that time and era, they didn't have that. So they had to start looking around town and finding people who were into the same stuff they were into. You dig? Alright, so that's what kind of happened back then. They had to pretty much go around town and look for people that were into the same stuff they were into. And, some of them got, abbreviated with gangs, rivals, all that stuff in that time. Great Depression, 40s, 50s, in that time it kind of happened. Because Greasers pretty much were the first official gang, rival gang for that time, But yeah. So, you're probably wondering, if you are wondering, how, can I, myself, find greasers? How can I do this stuff? Well, for one, you could start by, maybe, let me tell you. So, for those of you who are on the internet 24/7 and have never seen one of these before, it's a magazine. Alright? It's a magazine. Alright? So, you're probably wondering, well, how does a magazine have to do with greasers and the subculture and where I can find them to maybe be a part of them and be with the subculture? Well, because if you're trying to find greasers or you're trying to find a way to be a part of that style and subculture, what you're going to want to do is, was one of the ways I like doing things like that is I like finding magazines that I'm into, like this one right here. Alright? I used to have a lot of magazines. I don't know what happened to them. So this is really the only one I could find that is related to that. And this one is a motorcycle magazine, kind of like a Harley Davidson magazine. They do have some Harleys in here, but, you know, it's pretty much just bikes that people, you know, redid, you know, repainted, you know, redid all that stuff. That's what this magazine is pretty much about. Alright? It's pretty much people taking bikes and redoing them, fixing them up a little bit. But one of the things that is cool about this magazine here is that if you go to the page here, let me find the page. I was looking through this earlier, and I seen the page that I found from a long time ago. So let me go ahead and look through here, this magazine, and show you what I'm talking about, so you guys can get maybe a better understanding on what you can do. Alright? Really, really nice bikes in here, man. I mean, you know, they got a lot of old stuff in here. Not just, you know, modern day Harleys and older Harleys. A lot of great stuff in here. A lot of older bikes, too. You know, like from 50s vintage bikes and 60s bikes that they redo in here as well. But, well, this is not really, you know, greaser stuff, but it shows you what you need to do. Alright, so this is on page 90. Yeah, page 90. Alright, so this page right here. So this page right here doesn't have anything. It's just, you know, telling about this dude's story and his bike and how he did it and where he got it from. But the page next to it is normally where you're going to want to look for this stuff, man. Is, you know, magazines are very, very great, you know, to find where greasers can be at and located at. Is magazines, because this page right here, it's called, this is in Buffalo. I don't live in Buffalo, so it's not really going to work for me. But if you do live in Buffalo, and, you know, you want to become a part of the greaser scene, this page right here is the type of stuff you're going to want to be looking for. Alright, it may not be, you know, the exact thing, but it's close enough to what I have on me right now. Alright, so let me read this here. So, as you can see, it's not specifically with bands that greasers could be into, but it works, alright? You know, it says the band names, you know, go to the band shows. Go to the car. Alright, let me read this here. And stop rambling on. Let me read some of this shit here. Alright, so 40th anniversary, the best party anywhere. So pretty much it's bands playing in Buffalo, you know. You know, you gotta think, greasers are into, you know, rock and roll, rockabilly, psychobilly. You know, it's kind of the main stuff we're into. Some are into, like, metal and heavy metal, like myself. But, you know, some are into classic, you know, like rock and roll. Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Little Richard, Richie Valens, you know. Eddie Cochran, you know, that type of stuff. Whether it's cover bands or it's actual bands. Alright? So, you know, there's bands on here that I do like myself. I do like some of these bands that are on here. But, you know, that's the type of stuff you gotta be looking for, guys. Is bands, car shows, hot rod shows. Go to those type of things. I guarantee you, if you go to some of those things, you're guaranteed to find a greaser or someone who's into the greaser scene, or has just now started out. You can talk to them, hang out with them, get to know them a little bit better on where they started and where they're at now. You dig? But yeah, so that's the type of stuff, you know, any type of magazine really, that's the type of stuff you're going to want to be looking for. Is bands, rock and roll shows, rockabilly shows, car shows, hot rod shows. That's the type of stuff you're going to want to be getting into to find greasers around town. Alright, so there is the magazine. Now, like I said, this is the only magazine I could find that I own right now. I did have some on cars, but I don't know if half of them went, so this is the one I could really find that was kind of close to what I had. Sorry, that's all I really have on me right now. Alright, so yeah, just go to those things, guys. Like I said, you're guaranteed to find a greaser hanging around there at a rockabilly show, or a rock and roll show, or a car show, and those type of things like I just named. You're guaranteed to find someone like that who is into that stuff. Just saying. Just to bring it up. Alright, so another way, I'm only going to keep like 3 reasons on here. I'm not going to go into a full fucking thing. I probably should say that at the beginning, because we're already at 10 minutes here filming this video. I'm going to go into one more way on how you can find greasers. And that one last way is talking with people, meeting people, you know. Not really so much online, but like just, you know, meet up with people, you know. Hang out with people. Talk to them, man. You let them know why you're into the style, why you're into the subculture, and why, you know, you like doing this stuff. Very, very simple, you know. No online shit, just physical, you know, face-to-face talking is what I mean to say. Alright, so that's kind of where I'm going to end this, with finding greasers, where they're at, and how you can find them. That's all I'm really going to cover. Just basic stuff on how to actually find them. Alright? Trust me, they're guaranteed to find greasers at those locations and spots. Alright? Because a lot of those guys in the era back in the 50s were into cars, and they were mechanics, and they were hard workers, and they were working their asses off in the 50s. At least teenagers were pretty much at that time. So, yeah. So, that's, like I said, it's kind of where I'm going to draw the line with finding greasers and where you can find them. And, yeah, I pretty much covered it. So, you know, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Always open to answer any questions that anybody has. Alright? So I will see you in the next video. Stay cool, cats.